The essence of Orkney's magic is silence, loneliness, and the deep, marvellous rhythms of sea and land, darkness and light. The story of Betty Corrigal I knew as a kid and hadn't thought about it at all since being like 15, 16 or something like that. And it just popped into my head. And in the atmosphere of the dream there was an element of sound. You know, she came and she very clearly just said, you should write a record about Orkney.
It's a place to discover things, and the whole time in your head, in my head while I'm in London, I'm constantly imagining what it's like to leave London and constantly imagining what it's like to be back on a beach or be on the top of a hill or be on a sand dune or to breathe clean, fresh air.
So this is Alfred Street in Remoteness, which is where I spent all my time as a kid. Grew up here, and you can see the sea right behind us. That's how close I lived to it, and obviously spent a lot of time on the beach and probably throwing stones at jellyfish or something like that. A tiny sheltered harbour village surrounded by the sea. Traditionally you'd get in by boat, and that boat always toots its horn. It's such a low noise and it just echoes around the town. Hannah just started playing these long drawn out trombone notes.
It's just like, okay, let's just layer up some trombones, and literally we all sat in the dark. Simon pressed record and then I just played a couple of notes and it sounded like ship's horns. Ellen went, that's Remoteness, that's Remoteness. And it was just very natural. It was improvised, the melody was just one take, and that was the track.
As soon as you step off the plane or the ferry, you immediately feel it feels different from, I mean, I've been to Scotland quite a lot, but it feels different to that even. So it's got its own atmosphere and its own kind of identity, whether it's the sky or the sea or the cliffs or the land itself. And I think that people are very proud of that.
Take a look around you. Sunshine every day in life, calm, beautiful. I think it's just, from what I can gather, to get away from the rat race, the hassle and the trouble they get. They go out to the shop here, You can putter along, the older ones can putter along any way they like. No one will hassle them. And it's a quiet, easy way of life.
Well, I think that they like the peace and quiet. That's the main thing, and the lovely sky, how it changes and that so quickly. You know, you can get 4 seasons in one day. You can, often nice, and then all of a sudden the clouds roll in and a pause of rain, and you might get spots, a bit of snow, and then an hour or two later it's nice and sunny again.
I need somebody, someone to hold me, just like I want to, just like you used to.
Well, we're actually sitting in Ratwick here. How many living here now? 2, 4, 5, 6 permanent people. There was only 1 when we first came here. We're up to 6 now.
Ratwick's a beautiful, beautiful beach, but that's where Betty Corrigal had tried to kill herself. You know, she'd walked out into the sea and been dragged out, by the locals, and it's that story that makes it interesting.
It is kind of about it, but it's also about the islands and just our own kind of lives as well. So it's not kind of that literal and kind of set in stone. That was always something that you could go back to, if you kind of got lost for the writing process. If you kind of got stuck for an idea, you kind of go back to her as being the kind of the main idea and story behind the whole record.
When I was young, very little was known about Betty Corrigal because people didn't really want to speak about it.
It's a sad story.
Well, it's a sad tale, really. It's a very sad tale. Just a young girl.
17, she was pregnant about 150 years ago.
To a soldier, and
Couldn't live with it. And, legend has it was a sailor who was the father of the child.
And in those days it was a big scandal. The story is that he went off with the whaling ship.
But more likely it was the laird's son or somebody of that type,
And she ended up killing herself. And because that's a sin, they wouldn't bury her in the churchyard.
so they had to bury her outside the parish boundaries.
So they buried her in no man's land, between the parish of Hoy and North Walls.
Betty Corrigal, the girl buried in the moor. Child in the blue scarf of wind, begin to dance. Girl in the yellow coat of sun, ripeness is here. Woman in the grey sheet of water, steep your griefs. Queen, lie robed from looms of earth, Persephone. When we set out to make the record, we did say we want strings, we want brass, and we want a choir.
It was about taking essences from the Orkneys and putting it into the record. So having the voice of the choir, the voices of Orkney on there was really, really important.
So I just called a friend. I called my mum, who's still up on the island. She called someone else's mum.
Ellen had managed to find this choir on the island of Hoy.
And again, a wonderful bit of serendipity. A lot of the track names actually, and the story of Betty focus on that island of Hoy. And before we knew it, we'd flown up to Orkney with laptops and microphones, had a box of donuts and some wine. We're on a peaty boat going over to Hoy, and we were recording in a church in the kirk underneath Ward Hill.
Yeah, we had a fantastic 2 days recording the choir and just kind of finishing off the album, and that was the kind of the final piece of the jigsaw, was to go and put the kind of spirit of the people of Orkney Islands onto the recording itself.
Everybody turns up. We've got about 33 in the choir. Out of a population of 420, it's a fairly substantial number. We met with them in Hawaii earlier on this year and did this recordings, which took quite a while, but it's been an eye-opener to us all, I think, just how much work goes into making, well, even making one track, never mind a whole CD. I mean, it was much better than we thought it might be. We just kept on doing the same piece over and over and over again, and then when he got it the way he wanted, he punched the air and that was it. It's a world that we know absolutely nothing about at all, and but they're very nice people, very accomplished and easy going, easy to get on with. They didn't expect a lot from us, and I hope we helped them somewhat.
And I said at the time, we'll be back and we'll do a big show and we'd love you to perform with us. And they kind of went, yeah. I could see that they were thinking that might be the end of it.
10 years ago I came to Orkney, and that's when I really became a wildlife artist. I think I needed a life change from the pressure of doing stuff 9 till 9 every day. Being a bird, I've always known about Orkney. It's a mecca for birds. Kittiwakes, guillemots, razorbills, puffins, Arctic skewers, bunksies, that sort of thing. When we lived on Sharpsea, we'd get on the boat to do the monthly shop. So you'd get on a boat, on a ferry, take the kids, and just spend about an hour and a half just stocking up with 3 wheelie baskets, get them into the car, and then stick them into 7 freezers at home, because you can be cut off for a long time, particularly in wintertime.
I could never understand the attraction other than the fact that it's so tranquil a life. Maybe getting away for the hullabaloo and the rat race, as they call it, they maybe just came here and decided that this was what they wanted and just don't go back.
My name's Lee. I work for the RSPB, so I'm their warden on the Hoy Reserve. I moved here from Edinburgh just about 10 years ago, but you very often don't know your neighbours, and it's just nice the way that people take an interest here and everybody works together. The communities on the different islands in Orkney are just very welcoming and friendly. I really like the way that people care about each other.
Everybody knows everybody here. I mean, approach anyone and people are approachable. I think there's a great word, it's to blether, which is just to chat openly. And in Stromness you'll notice people, like even on a day like this where it's really grim, and you'll see people just having a good blether in a corner, or just chatting, usually about the weather initially, and then something else, what folk have been doing, or did you hear a story about Johnny in the pub last night, he had a fight, or he slept with someone. I love that kind of, it's local, I love it. They've all got a story, they've all moved there, or they were brought up there, and they're quite happy to tell you their tales.
The fire in 1984, up a mile up the road, there's a boys' brigade out cutting peats for their little house in Rackwick.
And it just spread?
No, they were cutting the peats, and the leader of the group, who was a fireman, said, "Look lads, do not play with matches today because it is so dry," this was in May, hot, "that if you start a fire, we won't be able to control it or put it out." And this little guy thought, what a load of nonsense. So he ran across the road and deliberately set fire to a tuft of grass. And he burnt 1,500 acres and damaged the trees back there. Really? Nice wee guy, actually. And we've never seen him since.
people trust each other, everybody knows each other. We don't lock our doors up here either. Everybody looks after each other. Sometimes you'll get a wee bit of argument between people, but the minute somebody's in trouble, everybody gathers around and comes to the fold, and everybody looks after each other. That's the difference.
It's a really straight and simple song in terms of its chords and its melody. And the poem for me is really important. Edwin Muir, who wrote the poem The Brothers, which we set that to music and called it Netherton's Teeth, because it was a place I used to play with my brothers in Orkney.
Last night I watched my brothers play, reckless and gentle, in a field 2 yards away. For half a century they were gone. Beyond the other side of God. Even in a dream I could not interrogate the happiness. So I spent the never end. Still it is about the green where I was, they once had been.
The Old Man Ahoy is just a big sea stack, and it used to have 2 legs, stand up straight with a big nose that looked like an old man. That's as simple as that. It's now got 1 leg, and it'll probably fall over in the next 100 years. But you've really got to hike to get there. It's a good long walk.
I suppose in terms of the relation between that place and the music, for me is really wonderful, because the rock stack itself is fragile, and that's represented in the music box, which itself is fragile because it's hand wound and handmade, and then to mix that with the da da kind of symphonic kind of big chords, and everybody's playing the exact same melody, and the choir is singing the melody, and the brass and the strings and everything's on that melody. It kind of gives this euphoric feeling to the Old Man Ahoy.
They're all dispersed all over the island of Hoy. They're all getting various boats, some into Stromness, some into Houghton, which is a bit further out, and they'll all get their little cars and come to the cathedral in Kirkwall. So I mean, they're making a great effort, and actually a really foul day. It's going to be pretty bitter today, and everyone's making that effort to come out.
Every little thing I know, every little thing I have, sitting up by the aisle, see with tired eyes. It's alright, shutting up for the winter. There's no war here. It's all there, taking it.
It's been a real pleasure to bring all the elements together and actually do the show as we envisaged it. Like, we went to the cathedral in August and said, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to do a show here?
And it just looked so big and imposing with it. It was just almost like a pipe dream at the time.
I think for the record and for the size of the choir and the size of everything we've tried to create, it kind of sums up what we wanted in the record. It gives it the special place that it needs.
But it's a real privilege to play in the cathedral. It's a pretty imposing place.
Wake me up for the silver sun. Today I am gone yesterday I want. Pay you both on the coming day. If the sea feeds you, why don't you feed the sea?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
There's an expression where they say he's gone over, which means he's either jumped or he's fallen, but he's gone. And I think Yesnaby to me it's not, you know, whilst it ends the album, it's not necessarily about that feeling of giving up and jumping off. It's the feeling of considering it and the people that may have done that. And what's turned them away from that, or what's made them jump.
The island of Cava is a small island in Scapa Flow, and two ladies lived on it. And I was with the salvage company, of course, and we put off a big explosion in the morning, blowing armour plates off the wrecks. And we came back in the afternoon, the sea still hadn't cleared. And the boss says, hey, let's go ashore for a walk. So we rowed ashore in a little dinghy and took a walk around the island, and we went up to the house. And I noticed the house where the ladies lived, and then I saw this garden shade, and I thought, well, that's quite a nice looking shade. It's even with lace curtains in the window. Out the door came this lady. I said, do you live in that shade? Not expecting her to say yes. Oh yes, she says, I'm in the shade, and my friend's in the house. Your friend? I said, if you're friends, why don't you live together? Oh, well, that would be boring. Because I live in the shade and she lives in the house, we can visit back and forth for a cup of tea. I can be sitting reading a book, and she'll come in, go on, a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits, and it broke up your day, and it was a surprise. We both sleep in the house at night. This is how they existed. This is how they surprised each other. They didn't get bored with each other's company all day long. One was 65 and the other was 73. And the older lady serviced the outboard engine for the little dinghy. They used to come over to Houghton or over to Lyons for supplies. There was a request on Radio Orkney one morning, the request programme, from one half of the population of Cava to the other half of the population of Cava, which of course I knew was from one lady to the other. It was quite funny. They used to live on the island of Farra, which is across from Flotta, the big oil base. But when they started building the big oil base on Flotta, they could see the lights from their house. So they moved from that island over to Cava to be further away. That was what you call hunting for remoteness.